Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back. Alexa was just pulled away from the RHAP event, which she was at all night. I made her leave early. But it's merge night. It has to happen. It's merge night.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you can be having the best night of your life, but if Phil texts you 7 times in a row and says it's merge night, we need to talk about it, you got to get in a cab and you got to go home and podcast.
I know. And Alexa's going to try to keep her drunk eyes to herself. Not drunk guys, drunk eyes. God, that
could have been vastly misconstrued.
Yeah. We know you probably noticed Alexa didn't do hot takes, but I was pretty sure you just live tweeted the entire event, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that you were.
Yeah, I mean, I live tweeted a little bit. I mean, anyone who's at the RPAP event, like the people who came out to me, it was really cool to meet you guys. I met like Chris, Ryan, Jake, like a bunch of different people. Andy, like it was all really cool to meet you guys. Like I wish I got to meet more, but like I said, Phil dragged me away from all the fun I was having. But it was like a really cool event. I mean, there were 500 people there. It was at this gorgeous movie theater. And then in advance, Jeff actually recorded a video and he just kind of introduced himself and said hi and stuff. But it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. Sari was there. Jessica Lewis was there. They both came on the podcast with Rob and Steven. And then I was there with Vaughn. I'm going to tweet out a picture with him. Please tone down your yawning. This is extremely exciting. But yeah, it was a really good night. Yeah, Phil had to drag me away from a couple of fireball shits, which was probably smart because I should not be drunk podcasting.
And plus, tomorrow's Thursday. Don't you have a job? Like, go to work.
I do have a job, but tomorrow's my Friday because I'm going to Miami on Friday.
Oh, there you go. So tomorrow doesn't matter. Tomorrow's like a day off. All right. Well, that's
back to the episode.
Back to the episode. Phil just lost everything, everything 2 weeks in a row, losing Allie, losing Jessica, had them both in my fantasy game on my fantasy draft team, was super pumped, really thought both of them had a chance to win going in 2 weeks ago. Now they're both at home. And, tonight, Joe was MVP last week. Joe totally overplayed tonight. He just got too cocky, and I just guess that he thinks he's going to go and he's going to find another idol, and he's not worried about it. But he got too cocky tonight. He played it for himself. I mean, honestly, at that point, you almost have to be thinking there's no way they're voting for you because you're pulling out the idol, and when there's 12 people left, there's no reason to throw the votes at you just in case you play it for yourself. So you got to be thinking, who's it going to? Is it going to Cole? Is it going to Jessica? Got to know they're not going after Dr. Mike because Dr. Mike has too many connections. And you got to know it can't be Desi because Desi's got her necklace on. So it had to be Cole or it had to be Jessica. Even if he plays it for Cole, it's still a better move than him playing it for himself. Even though it's still the wrong move, I still think it's smarter because once he pulls it out and puts it around his neck, no one's going to mess with him in this situation because it's not worth flushing the idol right now when you can do it at the next one or just, because at this point you're sitting there going, oh, God. Joe might not play that, but if he does, one of us is going home and we couldn't really plan for that. Whereas at another time, you can kind of plan for it, vote split, something like that. You had to dwindle the number, so you had to get rid of somebody other than Joe. So Joe playing it for himself was a bad move.
And before we go into Joe, Vaughn wanted me to make it abundantly clear that he is buying away the Eliminator game champion. He's better than both of us. He should be on this podcast. He is the greatest person to ever have graced.
Did I pick Jessica? I did, didn't I?
You did pick Jessica. You're out of the Eliminator. Get out of here, Phil.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
You are 2 boots better than the worst Eliminator game participant of all time.
Well,
With that, but so the thing about Joe is like, yes, he played aggressively, but that's the game that Joe plays. I'm not saying whether or not it was a good move, but he said something interesting when he handed that idol over. He said, I want to play on a clean slate. And I think he knows how much of a threat he is. I said this in my MVP spotlight earlier this week. He knows he is the top threat. He knows that he is the name that is going to be written down every single day until he is gone. And so why not make it a clean slate? They were right. He wasn't going to play it for Jessica. If anything, he was going to play it for Cole. And this kind of goes back to the Millennials versus Gen X vote out when they were thinking, oh, well, Jay has an idol. Jay would play it for Taylor. He's not going to play it for Michelle, 2 votes away. Mm-hmm. So having that, picking that person, picking Jessica was absolutely genius on their part because she's still a part of his alliance, but not close enough where she was the obvious threat. She was probably picked out an hour before Tribal Council.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you know that she's going to be third there. I mean, this is definitely it's the right move because he's never going to play it for Jessica. But I mean, losing Allie and losing Jessica back-to-back weeks like that sucks because those are your 2 like young girls they were both really fun to watch in their own way. I mean, I kind of hate that they just played up Jessica as like the virgin who's so wooed by guys. Like even in her exit interview, it's like, oh man, this game crushed me. I thought only boys could do that. It's like, no, you didn't. That's not Jessica's character. Like, come on, like give us a little bit more.
I mean, to be fair, like in her exit interview, I mean not exit, in her last words, like that is what she said.
Yeah, but that is what she said. But they pulled like there's probably 10 minutes of interview there, and they're like, "Hey, what's Jessica going to be remembered for? It's that boys crushed her, and hopefully she gets Cole back." I think Jessica's a more interesting character than that, and I think there's more depth to her that you could get somewhere. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I mean, look, I thought it was funny when she said that. Like, I'm all for it, but like. Still, I think that they could have pulled something a little bit better to kind of give Jessica a little bit more credit in the game that she played. Because I don't think Jessica played poorly. I actually think she played all right. Really, she needed to go to a tribal council before the merge so that they'd get rid of Cole. And then she would have been fine.
Yeah, she would have been fine because the reason they threw her name out was because she was attached to Cole. Mm-hmm. And as much as like people can argue that her attachment to him did or did not ruin her game, she is seen as associated with him. So that was like the main issue that we knew was eventually going to bring one of them down. And against what both of us said, that is what brought her down before bringing him down. And another reason I knew she was going home, and this was even before her name came up. You have that confessional at the merge feast, and you say, "I'm the queen bee." I'm in an auditorium filled with 500 people. There was an audible, like, S word. I cannot believe she said that she's going home. It's pretty fun watching with a large group of people because of the way the reactions are. But the second she said that, like, that was it. That's your kiss of death right there.
Yeah, I was watching on CBS All Access with some really sweet glitches where the screen just kept turning gray, and I had it open in 2 different windows. And
what was up with that? I've never had that happen.
It would turn gray at the same time in both windows, so I'm assuming it's just got to be something with CBS All Access because it's not just like my internet cutting out. It's literally like, and then it would come back. But I totally missed her Queen Bee confessional, so I had no idea that she even said that. I was actually sitting there going, somebody at the beginning of the episode had a confessional where they were saying, I'm at the top and like I can't see. I think it was Cole who actually had it, and he was like, I got the numbers and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, Cole will go. I missed the whole Queen Bee thing. I missed part of what Ashley said before they went to before they merged. And I missed the beginning of the tribal council. I didn't hear anything that Ryan said at the tribal. It was very annoying. And since I pay $6.99 a month or whatever the hell it is, I really hope that it gets fixed because that sucked. But anyway, moving past that, because live TV did not turn gray. And I'm being told I'm watching live TV.
Wait, why didn't you watch live?
Because I don't have the antenna. I haven't set everything up in my new apartment.
Well, you should probably do that. That would
so
help.
I only have the antenna is not much better. I mean, I'm in LA and like on like the first floor. But anyway, I just that really sucked because live TV definitely wasn't gray, but I guess that was. I'm looking at this though, the way they set this up at the beginning, where it was 2 tribes that were feeling pretty good about themselves, and they cut to Levu as if like they were in the elephant graveyard, like they had nothing. I mean, it was really ridiculous. I was kind of surprised, and they really played up Ashley and Devin here as being like, oh my God, we are doomed. Like, we are starving. We have nothing. And I was kind of surprised that those were the 2 that they played up. But I guess they're trying to really hone in on that underdog story of the 2 of them. Devin had a huge episode tonight. I was kind of surprised with how big Devin episode was and how much he was kind of trying to push the chips in one way, that Devin's name never even came up because he had a really big episode, which was unlike him early on.
Mm-hmm. To me, it makes sense that they picked those 2 because Joe, I feel like Joe could be like talking about food. I mean, we saw him talking about food earlier on in the season, but I feel like what we're learning about Joe is that this guy's like playing to win. He's playing a strategy game. So I feel like we're not going to hear him talk about I'm hungry. And for whatever reason, we're not hearing from Desi, even though she just tanked with the wrong word. Yeah. Absolutely machined an immunity challenge. I mean, she's an animal. And so for whatever reason, we're not hearing from her. And you reminded me with Devin. I mean, Ashley watching Devin walk and then saying like, you got this, man. Like, you got it in you to walk. You can handle this. And then we have Devin legitimately dead on the ground as this perfect drone shot comes up. And then we go to the merge. This entire episode was so like the cinematography of this episode was just so incredible, because we had this drone shot of Devin legitimately dead, and then he comes back and he's the guy moving the heroes around, moving the hustlers around. He's the guy having these conversations. He's the guy talking. We get to the merch feast and we have Devin and Joe kind of with a witty banter, and it felt like you were sitting at the table with them because it was so open and you saw their back and forth instead of just one person saying something and then cut. And then you see Chrissy talking to Ben. And then we have Chrissy and Ben talking, and you can hear the wind. We've never heard the wind before. We hear the wind just blowing their conversation out of their mouths. We see a flash of the secret advantage when Cole can't find it, when he says he's looking for it. This whole episode was so well done. This is one of the most like aesthetically pleasing episodes that I've watched in recent memory.
Yeah, and it was cool like that. I mean, I didn't find like the tribal to be particularly all that like crazy or like really the goings on. I mean, in terms of like a merge episode, I feel like it's very middle of the pack. Like it wasn't bad, but I don't think it was anything great. But I agree with you. They did a pretty good job with the jumping around and everything that was going on. And like you said, like the way it looked, I was really surprised that I guess that they just had used that challenge like previously. So it was already set up. Otherwise, Will and his friends were probably out there slaving away, making that thing, just to not even use it. That would be pretty lame. But I'm pretty sure that was a challenge they had just used previously. Thought they were going to break them up into like 3 teams to compete for the reward the way that they were talking about it, which would have really sucked. But Ben and Joe's reactions to the food was probably the last time we're going to see either of them happy in this entire game. Because I'm pretty much sold. Like Ben was so pumped about the ribeye, and then Joe was so pumped about the lava cake. But, like, I'm not saying either of these guys are miserable, but the way that they're playing now, I mean, these are 2 very serious guys now. They're coming to play, and I feel like they're really going for it. And it's kind of interesting to see how, like, they're playing with people like Cole and, like, like somebody like JP we didn't even hear from tonight. Like, it's kind of interesting, like, how serious these 2 guys are. And then you have Cole who's like, man, I hope this doesn't bite me in the ass, but I'm going to tell you, the 5 of us are all voting together at some point. And like Joe's like, I can't believe he would tell that like straight up to Joe. But like they're like Joe and Ben are really going to be they're like there's no way that either of them go down just because of their tribal line or their alliance lines. They're going to be bouncing all over the place.
Well, the thing about Joe is I fear that his, which is so crazy because I'm so big on loyalty. I fear that Joe's undying loyalty could be the death of him, or on the other side, this could be, I'm in no way comparing him to Russell. I am only comparing like the potential storylines. He very well could drag those 4 to the end. He could make something happen because this guy is coming out to play. But then on the flip side, we have Mike. No one knows that he is an idol. He, unlike Joe, did not tell anyone that he had an idol, which I think was a very smart move on his part because he now is on the bottom, the unquestionable bottom. He's on the bottom of his own tribe, let alone the entire merge tribe, and no one knows that he is an idol. He can use that. And on top of that, we saw a strong relationship with Lauren. We saw a strong relationship with Ben. Lauren and Ben may have voted the other way, but I know that there is some kind of relationship there where maybe he can't sneak in formally, but there can be some knowledge passed on to him. I think Mike is in a decent place, but I think Mike and Joe and all of the healers understand the position that they're in.
And I think the Russell comparisons are fine. Like to not compare him to Russell would, I think you have to compare him to Russell. He's playing a very similar game. I mean, he's not playing a social game. He's out there and he's yelling deuces, deuces, deuces. He's yelling at everybody at that tribal. And I mean, it's entertaining as a viewer, but he's not really playing much of a social game. He's going for it. I mean, even at the merge feast, he's telling Chrissy, yeah, I had to play the idol for Desi. I did this. Like, I couldn't believe he was just opening up, saying all that. I guess he figured it was going to get out anyway, so he might as well get the jump on it and just let them know.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, Chrissy's commentary of him was hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny, but that just shows where he's at. But I could easily see him being a Russell who tries to drag those 4 to the end. The only difference is he's playing with a lot better players, and on the other side, there's a lot more people who are willing to flip over. Somebody like Ben could easily flip over. If he finds out that Chrissy and Ryan are closer than him and Chrissy, he's flipping on her. I mean, it's going to happen. And I've been saying the whole time, I think a woman's going to win this season. The only 2 left who can win are Lauren or Chrissy. And I really think Lauren can win the game. They've really shown her since the Patrick episode, they've shown her as just like knowing exactly where to go and what to do at the right time. I mean, even tonight, she knew how to get Ben under control and just be like, dude, do not vote out Cole. like there's no reason to do it. But
Mhm.
I'm kind of surprised that the two of them ended up voting out Jessica anyway. That had to have been because of Ben's previous connections and because of Lauren's previous connections. But moving forward, I think Joe can easily sway somebody like Ben and Lauren to join his side. There was a reason we were seeing so much of Lauren and Ben talking to each other tonight. And I would not be surprised if Lauren goes on to win this game at all. But right now, Chrissy, I think, has the upper hand in terms of the women left in the game. But I would not be surprised at all if Lauren Rimmer goes on to pull off one of the most unprecedented wins, and like really just that would be an unbelievable like underdog coming onto a beach and just making her way all the way to the end.
Yeah, the Ben and Lauren with Joe is I guess I don't buy this much only because they don't really know him. I mean, they know Dr. Mike, but Dr. Mike and Joe apparently have made amends off of like whatever little tiff they had, but I don't know how deep it goes. But like you said, we had Lauren had a great episode tonight, and Lauren and Ben, I think that has the way that they voted tonight proves that they are going to vote together, because it was a 7-5 vote. They know that they had to stick together no matter what. And like you said, they have the hero connection on the other side. They have the healer connection on the other side, hustler connection on the other side. But Lauren said, I want to be with this Yawa 5. This is what I want. And so we never heard her say, okay, I'm down with this dual alliance on the other side. So she knew, I cannot make, like at the merge boot, I cannot make this big stink about it. I have to get through this first vote with them. She's playing very smart. She's still finding a way to play under the radar, even though she and Ben are the ones who decided who went home tonight.
Yeah, they definitely decided who went home. And I think what's going to be telling going down the line here is if Ben finds out how close Chrissy is with Ryan, and maybe Lauren finds out that Devin and Ryan are close, or Devin and Ashley, and like that's going to be your alliance, and they start to realize, hey, like guys, we're actually like if Lauren and Ben look at each other and say we're 6 and 7 here, which feasibly they are. I mean, Chrissy was saying right out to Ben like, hey, you know, I'm so happy to see you, blah, blah, blah. But I think she still takes Ryan over Ben because of what Ryan's done for her in the past. And I think that Ben's going to see that at some point, because I do think Ben's got a little crazy in him. I think Ben's got a little, you know, paranoia in him where it's like, there's no way I'm letting this happen to me. And I think that he'll catch it before it can. And I think Lauren already wants to go and work on the other side. I think Lauren really likes Dr. Mike. And I would not be surprised if they can somehow manage to use Joe and use Desi and get Dr. Mike, Ben, and Lauren into your final 3. Like, I would not be shocked if they somehow found a way to do that. Granted, the other side clearly has the upper hand, but who's your winner from the other side? Who's your winner from, like, I guess Chrissy could win. Ryan, I'm not buying too much. Devin had a huge episode tonight, but I'm not really, like, all on board with that. Who's your winner from that other side?
I mean, it's Chrissy. Chrissy's your winner from the other side. But the thing about that, like, that group bringing in Ben and Lauren, like you just said, the thing that I fear for that group is that Ben clearly does not like Cole for reasons that were made clear tonight. So unfortunately, the person who went home tonight was someone who Ben probably thought positively of. So now there are less people, and the person who he really doesn't like is still there. And I kind of want to talk about the scene that Ben and Cole had on the log tonight. Rob and Steven talked about it a little bit tonight, but I want to know what you think about that, because I thought Cole handled that pretty well, albeit he had to be coaxed into telling Ben that he was sorry. But he said, you know, I'm sorry. It's never going to happen again. This isn't an excuse. I have literally no body fat on me. I think he has, I don't know where I read this. He has like 2.5% body fat on him. And he, as we learned tonight, he needs 8,000 calories per day. Yeah. Which is bananas. That's a lot of bananas.
That is less, but that is still less calories than seconds times whatever that Desi beat Ryan by.
Lots of math tonight.
Yeah, but no, and I agree. I think that Cole handled that well. I think Ben handled it well at first, and then once he dropped that and the fish thing, it was like, okay, he's no longer doing this. And then, like, to kind of keep using that against Cole, there's clearly just something that irked Ben early on with Cole. And I think this goes back to Ben and Lauren probably got really tight really quickly once they got to Yawa. And who does Lauren not like? She doesn't like Cole. And Ben looking for any reason to not, like, to to not like Cole. I mean, I think Ben was already irked by it. Now he has somebody he can vent that to. When you're just talking about it nonstop, it's going to build up in you. And now you realize you're supposed to be aligned with that guy. You don't want that. So I think that's kind of where the frustration comes out. I think that Cole was fine tonight, though. Like, I don't think that he really did anything wrong. I mean, Cole's still not going to go on to win the game, but I don't think he did anything wrong tonight. I still think Ben has a better chance. I still think Ben comes out on top of that. But I don't understand really. I mean, when Ben was saying he's offended me the whole time, I was kind of like, that seems a bit excessive. I don't know why he's really offended you. I get you're pissed, but I don't know about offended.
Yeah, that could very well be something that we don't know. But like you said, I think Ben just doesn't like Cole, and that's perfectly fine because from what we've seen, Ben has every right to be frustrated with Cole. But I think Cole did perfectly fine. This episode, he was very aware, and yes, people had to tell him to be aware, but he knows that he may be rubbing people the wrong way. He knows that he's on the chopping block. He knew at Tribal Council, okay, well, Joe's kind of safe because he's wearing this thing on his neck, and I'm the one next to go. He's learning, and he's maybe learning at a different pace than the other people, but he's catching on. And he lost to Jessica, and in a way that could be good for him. I think if the roles were reversed, I think it would be very good for Jessica because we saw Jessica trying to play the game. But we could see a turning point for Cole. We never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, he could be somebody who gets like a redemption all the way to like final 8 or something like that. I don't see him going much further than that. I mean, he could somehow keep going, but I think he would get like Jason and get like 5th and be like the first person from that alliance to go if somehow that alliance does somehow form. But what I'm going to be most curious to see is where's Devin's role going to be in this and where's Ashley's role going to be in this, because tonight we still got nothing more, but Devin was barking out a lot of orders and never seemed in trouble, which I was really surprised by. Ryan was really excited to have Devin back. Now Ryan's sitting there. He's got Devin. He's got Chrissy. He's got JP. Chrissy thinks she has Ben. Devin has Ashley. There's your 6. But if Ben flips, that's it. That's 5. And I don't see them pulling any of the other healers in because I think that Lauren and Mike are going to decide, hey, that's the more likable side. Let's go with the more unlikable side and let's win this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a very good point. Absolutely. Going with the more, I mean, the thing about likable versus unlikable, though, is like try to take yourself away as a viewer and try to put yourself in it as a player. I don't know if Ben and Lauren would be thinking about it that way.
Well, and tonight was also a straightforward 7-5 vote. I don't see this season going down across these alliances the rest of the time. Like, I think there's going to be plenty of back and forth switches, blind sides. Like, I think there's going to be plenty going on because I think there are so many alliances. It almost feels like this was like the Tokensheens merge where Brendan goes home, but you knew or not Brendan, Joe goes home medevac, but you knew something was coming. You knew that there was something brewing beneath the surface. And the next week it was Brendan, and then it was Tyson, and you were just like, holy crap, they just got rid of like the 2 heads of 2 alliances back to back. And that's when JT and Taj and Steven just ran it right to the end. Mm-hmm. And it seems like there's something brewing on the surface here. You have your power players starting to emerge. Poor Jessica has to go home now. But now that she's out, I don't think that we're going and looking at 6-5 the rest of the way. And I wouldn't even be – I keep talking about Ben and Lauren being the ones who flip. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan goes somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of maneuvering that it just turns into these voting blocks. As awful as that sounds, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned into something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised either because we are seeing a lot of different relationships. Like I'm really loving Chrissy this season. I'm really liking Ryan. I'm really liking Ben and Lauren. And like this season has just been so great. And that's because all of these characters are really playing this game. And I think apart from maybe Chrissy and Joe, because I don't really see the 2 of them working together at the moment, apart from Chrissy and Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if one person approached another and said, hey, why don't we shake this game up a little bit? I mean, we saw Devin doing it tonight. We saw Lauren and Ben activate on it. It wasn't a crazy vote, but it was probably a very crazy day at the beach.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I guess let's talk about that. Was that buried in the cinnamon sticks, the advantage? Was that...
It wasn't in the cinnamon sticks. It was in like the nails, but it looked like cinnamon sticks.
Okay, because when Cole was eating, I thought it would have been funny if he found that. Somebody's going to find that at some point. I was happy.
Do you think they're going to re-hide it, right? Or
I don't know. Maybe they just leave it in there and somebody's just going to stumble upon it because if nobody's done it yet, as long as it's not just a merge thing. And I'm kind of happy that we didn't. We've been talking a lot about at the beginning of the game, there was something that was only good for that tribal. At the swap, there was something good only for that tribal. Now we hit the merge, and I'm happy there wasn't something that was good only for this tribal. Because if there was, I think it would have had too much of an impact. And maybe that advantage that was sitting there is that, and nobody actually found it, so they could never bring it into play. And I'm really surprised nobody found it because somebody had picked that up out of the bag and didn't realize that there was a soft piece of paper in these hard nails.
Yeah. Well, and especially because Cole was the one nailing them, and we saw the flash, we saw that Cole was the one doing it. So that's why I think it may have been rehidden or something, because I don't know how many nails they used, but it looked like there were maybe 10 or 12 nails in that little bunch. So if you use 10, that's the only thing that's left. So you're going to see it. So I don't really know how that works, but clearly we see next week that there is like a heroes versus villains first challenge brawl over this thing. So,
which will be interesting because you got Cole going up against Chrissy, and it'll be interesting to see where people stand on this because I'm one of those who thinks it's Survivor, all is fair. I think like what Nayanka did to Kelly Bruno was probably excessive because it was like before anything had even really started happening, and then Nayanka just started like screaming at the camera afterwards, and it was like, all right, Nayanka, like chill, which pretty much was the theme of Nicaragua was Nayanka, please chill.
Yeah, I'd say that was more than a little excessive.
But like this, like if they're digging and you're going for an idol and your back's against the wall, you do whatever you have to do. Like I had no problem with Jason and Scott taking that idol from Alicia and just like pushing Alicia out of the way. Like you came to play this game. It can't turn into, a guy can't be pushing a girl down because that's not right in the real world. In this game of Survivor, like I'm fine if Cole's just using his 8,000 calories a day to just smother Chrissy into the ground so he can grab the idol. Like I'm fine with that.
I mean, yeah, I think you're being a little presumptuous in that. Like people are going to assume that. Like, I mean, if it's going to be another Danielle and
that was amazing.
Amanda, if we're gonna go see Danielle and Amanda fighting over it, while like Colby literally sits there with a bowl of popcorn and watches his dream
and then just
unravel
tells
in front
Amanda
of
to
him.
give it up because like why win the game? Like that's what I'm saying though. I think the way Colby handled that is probably the worst way you could ever handle something in Survivor because you're literally saying, "Oh, you have it, well, give it back. I don't want to win." Like, get out of here. You take that advantage. It all is fair until the producers tell you that is illegal. I mean, I'm even okay. You go and trip people like Ben did back in Samoa. Until the producers tell you it's wrong, it's okay.
As long as no punches are thrown, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, which they're not going to be thrown. I mean, I'm sure people are going to be obnoxious and all over each other. But, I mean, I think one of the comments on, like, one of the YouTube videos was not that I can actually see them on the YouTube video still. I still have no idea why. I had to look like through like our email or something. It came up, but somebody had said, or it was like an unapproved comment. And those are the only ones I can see right now. And somebody had said like, has anybody ever been kicked out of the game for abusing somebody like Cole's about to do? And that's why I was like, I feel like I kind of have to address that because if that becomes like a thought that Cole would ever that Cole's going to overstep his bounds just because he's way bigger than everybody else on that island. I mean, it's fine. You got to do what you got to do.
That makes sense now why it was an unapproved comment because you see like Cole abuses Chrissy.
Yeah, exactly. So the word abuse is in there. Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens. It sounds like it's going to be pretty crazy. But what's cool is that it looks like it's buried, if that's where they're digging. It looks like it's buried right in the heart of camp, and I love that. This is like the China idol that was literally part of their like entrance. I love a very public area, so that's why I'm looking forward to it. I obviously hope like no one gets physically hurt from it. But yeah, it was pretty crazy preview. Do you want to talk about the immunity challenge a little bit?
Yeah, we should probably talk about that real quick. This was weird.
I loved it.
I thought it was good. It was just so weird. Even Jeff talking about don't fall asleep. You're gonna be
don't let it seduce you.
I was so relieved when that challenge ended because that white noise of the ball just spinning, not being there was so nice. I was just like, ooh, it's gone. Thank you. Although it did cut out when Cole fell, so I didn't actually see Cole get knocked out of the challenge because why wouldn't my screen turn bright gray? So I missed that happen, but I thought this was a really unique challenge because this is one of those – these are the challenges I like where anybody can win, but there's no stupid thing where it's oh, you each have a third of your body weight or, oh, it's each based on how big your foot is. I like this because it's like you don't need to do that, and you just spin the damn thing and like hope that you last. And you know, Desi and Ashley both did really well on it. And really, somebody like Cole, I mean, how many abs did we get to see Cole have tonight? I mean, I'm sure he was sitting there watching that at home, like rubbing his hands together, like, yeah, I still looked good out there, because every time he moved, it was just like the six-pack was just walking around all over the place.
Well, yeah, I liked it because it was both endurance and a little bit of strength, because I was like kind of standing there just like I was just like holding my bag, and I was like, all right, if I shake this thing for 38 minutes, how tired am I going to get? And I could, like, you probably get pretty darn tired, and so you have to balance along with that. And like you said, there's no loophole. So Ashley was going like real fast with hers. Desi's was going a little bit slower, and that, like, you have that white noise, which could very well put you to sleep, and then you have like Chrissy doing extreme math on the side. You have Jeff poking fun at Ryan like 5 times over the course of the episode. Like, I would be that person who's doing very well in an immunity challenge and then hears something funny and then laughs and drops and then I go home. Like, that is how I go home if I'm ever on Survivor. So the two of them had such concentration. So you have to have your body like constantly moving in the concentration.
Yeah,
and like
you saw like Mike not have the concentration, where he tries to mouth off back to Jeff and just falls out right after.
Yeah. And someone actually asked at the event tonight. So they were pretty close together. And you I think Joe's ball hit Mike. He hit Mike or hit someone with it. Like, that's a challenge where you're very close to someone. And the person asked, like, what are the rules with that? Like, what if you and I are doing this and I just like topple over extremely and I whack you off?
What happens?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, wait, did Rob not answer it? I
don't think they had an answer.
That's interesting. I wonder what people are going to God, the pause there too. Jesus, Alexa. Anyway, I don't know. I think that they would probably have something in play, because I know that like there was something, rules have been established where it's like if you get off the beam, you can't like try to get in someone's way. You can't do that. So I'm assuming like if Mike were to fall and crash into Desi and Desi were to fall off because of that, they probably would have been like, all right, everybody who's still left in, get back on the perch, start going again. Like, everybody, like, time out, because I doubt that they're going to be like, oh, Desi's out because Mike has the worst balance ever and fell 15 feet and knocked her off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. But yeah, Desi crushed it. Also, Devin looked like his soul had died whenever they went.
How about JP's grunt?
Oh, yeah, JP's grunt.
When he fell off, he's like, ugh! Like, I didn't know what that noise was. Like,
well, there was just like extreme anger, which apparently like JP can have extreme emotions. So that's pretty cool. And that was the most we saw of JP tonight. We got a couple facial reactions and that was it. I want everyone to know, we are not getting any JP until he goes home.
It's Ken. I mean, it really is. Like, Ken was pretty big before the merge, because you could have him, you know, when it's 3 tribes, it's easy to have Ken pop up at least once an episode or twice an episode. But once the merge hits and there's so much going on and there's so many loud characters, you just don't have time to throw JP in every week. And at a big merge tribal, they didn't even have time to throw in the immunity challenge winner, so they're not going to have time to throw in JP. And plus, we already know
damn shame with Desi.
You already know where JP's going to vote, though. You know he's just voting wherever Ryan and Chrissy vote, so you don't need to see much from him because he's not the one going out and strategizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. He was the only one we didn't talk to tonight, I think.
No, Desi, we did. I don't think we got a confession.
We didn't talk to the immunity. And that's another Ken thing. How many immunities did Ken win? They didn't talk to him.
I know. But the thing with Desi is, like, even though she didn't have like anything and she's not going to win the game, we still saw some of Desi, and her coming up onto the up the hill and like talking to Jeff about that, and then like she had like her little moments. Like, she still had moments. She just didn't have like winner moments.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's a shame we're not seeing her, because I feel like we could get like a pretty interesting perspective.
And that's kind of what I was saying, is like at the beginning of the season, I was like, man, a woman is definitely going to win this season. We got Allie, we got Jessica, we got Chrissy. I obviously was not big on Lauren after episode 3, but now I'm a believer that Lauren can easily win this game. But that's the thing. Now we're just down to Chrissy and Lauren that can win out of the girls. I don't know if Ashley can win. I still have no idea. Ashley is the hardest person I've ever had to read on this game, because I really thought she's going to be the merge boot, and then tonight she comes out, she gets the confessional before the merge, and then gets nothing after the merge. Devin is eating up so much screen time when it looked like the two of them were like inseparable. What is Ashley's story on this season? Like, what is going to happen? I have no idea. Is she finally going to is she going to be the one who gets rid of Joe? Is that what's going to happen? But like, are they really going to have somebody like Ashley be the one who gets rid of Joe? I just don't know where Ashley's at. I can't figure it out.
I don't know. I mean, her getting rid of Joe could be a good storybook ending, but I don't know. I don't have a good read on her, but she's really hilarious. Like everything she says, everything they're giving us of her is like funny little quips. And her and Devin are like super adorably hilarious together. So I've like obviously would like to see more of Ashley. I'd like to see as much as I can of everyone, but obviously we aren't able to fit that all into an hour. But yeah, she's a little tough, but she seems to have assimilated perfectly fine back into the heroes group, which I think we were both a little worried about. So that's worked out very well for her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's jump over to comments for like, because we've talked like in circles. It's always hard with the merge because you just kind of talk in circles. There's only one challenge.
Before, just because like just for timing's sake, before we go to comments, do you want to do MVP, LVP, just so we don't forget?
Oh yeah, LVP I think is clearly Joe. I mean, I mean he's on my team, but I don't see how it could be anybody else. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give LVP to Joe. For MVP, I'm flipping between Devin and Lauren. I think I'm gonna lean towards Lauren for MVP, and I think they both very well could get it. Obviously, they're both on my team, so I'm like perfectly happy with either of them. But I feel like Lauren is in a slightly better position than Devin in that her lines are not like abundantly drawn in the sand. She's made it clear that she is close with Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike has an idol. Dr. Mike is desperate right now. Dr. Mike could use Lauren. Lauren did not feel as much of an affinity to her older tribe, but she still voted with them. She's in a very safe position in that she's in the middle, but she's not going to be that middle person that everyone gangs up on because there's no reason to get rid of her. And she has a tight relationship with Ben, the other guy in the middle. And if you're voting between Ben and Lauren, who you're going to get rid of? You're probably going to get rid of Ben. So I'm going with Lauren for my MVP.
Yeah, I mean,
going to say that Vaughn would put Ben as his MVP, but I don't want to speak for him.
Yeah, I would probably say Ben out of them. I mean, my team went from having Allie and Jessica, who both looked like future winners, to now I have Joe, Cole, and Ashley, and I'm sitting here like, oh, okay. So I will say Ashley's my MVP pick because she's the only one who's not Cole or Joe on my team. So Ashley, clearly.
All right, let's go to Twitter now.
Let's do it. Connor Berry says that Outback Steakhouse fake out. I blame Will. What was the fake out?
I don't think it was. Oh, like maybe it was when Jeff said, like, this is not going to be your traditional merge because now you get to order your own food. That was, I mean, actually, one thing that's worth talking about, like, people will like hem and haw about Outback Steakhouse. Wow.
Outhouse Steakhouse.
Outback Steakhouse, Thunder from Down Under, all this stuff. Sponsorships are good. Sponsorships are a good thing.
That's great.
It's a very, very good thing. We haven't had a sponsorship on Survivor in an extremely long time.
How many times did they say Outback Steakhouse tonight?
They said it quite a bit, but I was okay. And I was like sitting next to this girl who I had met 10 minutes prior, and I was like, God damn, do I want a steak right now? Like they did it right. They did it well. So he was probably referencing Jeff like faking him out for the merge feast. Mm-hmm. That would be my guess. Chris Pionelli, because Jeff is going to open the door and be like, come on in, guys. That was in reference to the photo I posted of Jeff's video. If he did that, I probably would have peed myself. So I guess it's a good thing he didn't.
Yeah. You would have never been able to handle meeting Jeff as well as me and Will did. You know, we handled it with such grace. You would have peed yourself.
Such grace. Yeah, such grace.
Larry Miller, do you like the immunity necklace? Another podcast in the future. The immunity necklace is okay. I mean, it is what it is.
It was nice and big.
Gaudy.
Like there was a lot to it. I think it was the Millennials versus Gen X immunity necklace that was just like bead thing, more beads. Like this had like a lot going on, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Sarah, is the advantage still hidden in that roll that was on the ground, or they move it somewhere else? And when was the last time we had Outback on Survivor? It's been a while. We don't get big sponsorships anymore like this. So, I mean, this was really good. In terms of is it still in there? I think it's still in there. I don't think they would move it.
Mm-hmm. Nathan Garcia, I stressed more of the merge booth than I have over my engineering exams. Thoughts on Jess not making the jury? Yeah, that's the downside to having these huge merges. Sometimes the first boot isn't going to make the jury, and I'm a pretty big believer that everyone who makes a merge should make the jury, because at that point they have to some capacity played with every single person who's in the game, even if it is just for a couple days. But yeah, it kind of sucks that she's not on jury.
It's kind of surprising too in a 12-person merge when last season was 13 and like the season before that was 13. And like all 13 are always making it. And now like this is why I don't like that they do this sometimes. Like Jessica now becomes a moot point on this season. Like there's nothing for Jessica. Just like it's kind of like you go back to Pearl Islands and Savage was 10th, and when Varner was 10th, and Rob Mariano was 10th. Like you look at a lot of these people who make the merge but are the first boot at that merge, and they kind of get forgotten, and it's a shame because like Jessica, I think was a lot of fun. I was hoping that she would at least make the merge, that you see her every week at Ponderosa. The fans still kind of keep her in their mind because Jessica's somebody that she's a fun personality to have on the show, just like Allie was. And if you got to lose one, I mean, you just lost, I honestly think, two of your better personalities on this season in back-to-back weeks, and they're done. Like that's it. That's why I think when these people you're only getting one shot, give them that shot. Like let them come out there. Let as many people matter for the season as possible, because we've gotten to a point now where everybody is so active social media wise and everything. Let everybody be a huge part of the game, because Jessica, we just got to watch for so long. We really got to start to really like Jessica. And then she goes and we're not going to see her now for another 6 weeks, and she's going to be kind of forgotten. And the same thing with Allie. And it's a shame when that happens.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I didn't even really realize that she missed it.
Yeah, no, she did. Yeah, when he just said Jessica's going home, it didn't say merge or jury. Excuse me.
All right, we got Nathan. Go ahead, Nathan Garcia.
I just did Nathan Garcia.
Oh, we just did
Larry Miller. I didn't want to say it at the time, but now we know why Rourke said Joe is healer strong, because Jessica told her. That's how Rourke found out. Now we all know. Is it true?
I mean, that would make sense.
I feel like it was pretty abundantly clear that he was.
Yeah, but she wasn't on his tribe, so I guess that would make sense that Jessica gets voted out, and then they can talk, and it's like actually Joe was very loyal, and I'm just out. I mean, that pre-merge trip is probably so interesting, where you have Allie and Patrick doing their thing after whatever happened. Then you have like Rourke, Jessica, and Allie, who I think would really get along. Simone, who I don't really get, and who's the first boot?
Katrina.
And then you also have Alan. That's such a weird group of people. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's a solid crew.
That's weird. Giovanni Ariana, is Chrissy the second coming of Muffin, aka Missy? No.
I don't think so.
No.
I absolutely love Chrissy. I do not think she's like Missy.
Next one.
Gamer Girl, which past merch boot do you think Jessica's like? I say Michelle from Millennials vs. Gen X. I made a kind of a comparison to that earlier in the podcast. It could be similar. We're getting a lot of weird merge boots. Our first merge boot isn't the alpha male challenge beast anymore. That's kind of turning into your second or third or fourth, depending on whenever they get out. So that's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, because it used to. Well, now it's kind of because of idols and everything. It's kind of taken the target off of the alpha males more, because they can't take them every time. I mean, what was the boot? I guess Yeah, no, I don't really know. I don't really know who it would remind me of, because it's hard. I have to actually think of who was the merge boot and who was the jury boot. But this was definitely this is a tough one to swallow. I mean, we just lost a really likable player, and we're not even going to get them on the jury, which stinks. And her and Cole will never get to hang out every day now.
Except maybe they can.
Maybe if Cole somehow goes home here.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
They're not going to. Cole has to pull the Julie McGee and just beg to not go to Ponderosa. We got Survivor Patty. I wonder how long it takes for Ryan to realize that it's Chrissy calling the shots and not him. She switched the vote over to Jessica like a boss. Deuces. Yeah, she really did.
Yeah, no, she was great. And that's people were saying that earlier when oh my gosh, what am I saying? When Ryan got rid of Rourke and Allie, Chrissy is running the shots. We don't know how much of the relationship between her and Ryan is, but Chrissy's doing a very good job of being heavily involved in this, but not being extremely obvious about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Survivor Patty, so happy Joe made through the merge vote. What are his chances of finding another idol? I think there's a good chance he's going to find it. Although next week it looks like people are wrestling for something. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe finds something else. I don't think Joe, now that Joe doesn't have an idol, how threatening is Joe really? Yeah, he's going to cause some havoc, but it doesn't seem like anybody likes him.
I don't think, I mean, unless he finds another idol. Which beach did they merge onto?
I don't know.
I have no idea. But clearly there's like another idol planted based on what we're seeing for next week. But if he doesn't have an idol, I don't think people will buy what he's selling.
I don't think there's any reason to vote him out next week, though. I think Cole is somebody you vote out before Joe now, because if Joe doesn't have an idol and you know where the idol ends up, like if everybody watches somebody find an idol next week, what's the point of getting rid of Joe? Like right now, he doesn't have an idol, and you got to be thinking like, okay, they're not going to hide. They don't really normally hide multiple idols after the merge until one gets played. So just don't play that idol.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like we're at a point in Survivor where anything can happen. So if Joe doesn't have an idol, I feel like he should be your number one target. Gamer Girl, which Jeff Mama is funnier? His face during Ben's reaction to Ribeye, or him constantly teasing Ryan for lasting 2 seconds during the immunity challenge? Jeff was on fire tonight, and that was another reason why I loved the episode. There was a lot of back and forth between the players and Jeff, and that was super fun. I love when they interact with him.
And it was definitely his face when Ben reacted to the Ribeye, because Ben was like a child on that.
It was so funny.
Giovanni asks, will JP have less screen time than Jessica had in the whole season? I think so. I mean, Jessica had a pretty good amount, and I don't think JP is going to get a huge uptick here. Now with the people left.
Yeah. Survivor Patty, do you think people are underestimating Desi in this game? She's an all-around threat, good in challenges, very smart, likable person. So we've seen all three of those, but mostly the challenge part is what we've seen. We've seen her absolutely crush challenges. But the problem is I can't tell if people are under or over or sideways estimating her, because we realistically don't know anything about her.
Yeah, and I think that Desi could come down as somebody like Tyler, where it's like everybody kind of liked them. They probably could have won if they got to the end, but there was no way anybody's going to let them get to the end. And like she's on people's radar. She's just not necessarily like their number one target yet. And she's going to go at some point. But right now they're not super worried about it.
Got it. Yeah.
Aaron Weiner, pretty mad at the amount of luxury they got this merge, and really thought that Devin was going home, because at the beginning of the episode they showed him laying on the beach like he was dead, then zooming out. Maybe I'm reading too much into the edit.
I think that was just like a really cool drone shot. I don't know if that was like a foreshadowing to him.
I still thought he had a chance to go just because he had so much time on screen this week.
And he had like a confessional with his beer. Like that was super cool. But yeah, I mean, one good point that someone brought up tonight was, why do they have cinnamon sticks? Like what gain? And also, who eats a straight up cinnamon stick? I think I tried that once and it was horrible.
Yeah, those are like brutal. I mean, unless they were putting them in something, like if they had gotten like some sort of drink that they could put the cinnamon sticks in, and they just kept the cinnamon sticks. Yeah. That's what I would think. Maybe one of those, because they did have those like lemonade things that they probably could have put cinnamon sticks in. Yeah.
Survivor Patty, if Dr. Mike is smart, he'll play the middle and blindside someone the next couple votes with an immunity idol. Flip the game around, because he's at the bottom of the huge tribe. I think out of all the people in that healer's minority, Dr. Mike has the most opportunity to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also has the best chance to win out of those four. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but I think Dr. Mike could really make some moves here. I wouldn't be surprised though if Dr. Mike gets all the way to like fourth and just falls short. Gamer Girl, was anyone else worried that Devin at the beginning of the merge was worried that they were going to vote him out for the same reason they voted out Eric and Samoa? Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things pointing to Devin going tonight.
Yeah. Survivor Patty, what do you think of this? Twice now Chrissy has votes thrown at her while Ryan has said none. Is she not blending in whenever she's seen a huge threat? Any thoughts on this? I think people are realizing that Chrissy's a threat. I think like Rod and Steven were saying on the podcast, like, yes, she was like doing quick math in her head. I don't like, maybe that could be seen as a threat, like just like saying that out loud, like proving that you can do like extreme math in your head. I know that would take me like 38 minutes plus to do that in my head, but I don't know. I think they maybe threw her name out for the same reason that the majority alliance threw Jessica out, because they probably thought that Chrissy was like right down the middle, not an obvious threat, And clearly Chrissy was surprised that votes went her way. I mean, her jaw dropped when the first parchment with her name came down.
Yeah, and I don't think Chrissy's pretty much from what everybody has said as they've left, they've all said Chrissy's just a huge liar. And that was Rourke, that was Allie, and I'm sure Jessica's going to come out and say that Chrissy was lying to her too, even though they didn't really have much of a bond. But that's been like a common theme in these, and I think that Chrissy is smooth, but the reason I don't know if Chrissy can win is because once people get to Ponderosa, they're going to realize they got played by Chrissy. And that's where I think, because people are going to come out and be like, Chrissy's the one who was lying to you. Chrissy was the one who was lying to you. And that happened pre-merge, and I'm not going to be surprised if that happens now post-merge. And she was the number one on their radar. I mean, Jessica was number 3 on everybody's radar from the one side, and she goes home. But Chrissy was number 1 on the radar of the people in the minority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
For what it's worth. Miriam White, I think Ryan wins. Chrissy's the next Dawn. I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
That is a hot
Chrissy's
take.
Chrissy's got a lot more strategy in her, but that's about it.
Oh my gosh! Just because we have a younger guy and an older woman, and Chrissy's not even older. That's not even what I meant when I said that.
Dawn was only like in her mid-40s too.
Let's not make these comparisons. Gamer Girl, what do you think of the advantage that Cole somehow didn't notice could have been? Also, who do you think would have found it if someone had noticed it other than Joe? I really think anyone could have found it. I mean, Cole was talking about it, so he very well could have found it. He's clearly looking for something. Mm-hmm. What it could have been, we kind of talked about that on the previous podcast, but it's 1 a.m. and I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it's just one of those like extra votes, something like that. I don't know if it would have been a clue to an idol. I think it would have been more of like an extra vote or, a vote steal or cancel somebody's vote out. I think it would have been something like that. Survivor Patty, can Joe somehow talk Mike back onto his side for at least short term? I mean, if they can pull the numbers, that's about the only way it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Giovanni says, how are Mike's chances as of now? They're definitely going up. But I still think that those early episodes told you a lot. We got a lot of Jessica. Jessica's gone. We got a lot. Like when Jessica wasn't going to Tribal, this is her first Tribal. Jessica, we were getting so much of her, and now she's gone. We weren't getting much of Mike when he wasn't going to Tribal. I think that's very telling of how far he's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Survivor Patty, do you think Lauren will notice that Chrissy and Ben are closer than she would like them to be? How will she handle being a third wheel instead of equal partners with Ben? She's quite observant of other people's pecking orders. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting dynamic, those three, because she definitely doesn't know how close they are. And Ben, we saw Ben make it abundantly clear that he didn't want it to be obvious that he and Chrissy are super tight. Every time they were talking, he was kind of like brushing it off, saying like, yeah, just like be a little more casual about it. That could be an issue. That very well could be an issue.
Yeah, no, it absolutely could, but I also don't think that Ben is as close with Chrissy as Chrissy thinks Ben is. I think Ben kind of moved on, and I think Chrissy moved on too, but Chrissy moved on to only having 2 people. I think Ben moved on to having a big group there, and granted, one of them went home tonight, and he's not really close with Cole, but I think like him, Dr. Mike, and Lauren might be actually tighter than him and Chrissy right now.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't vote together tonight. That's the other thing. Ben and Lauren voted together, but Mike did not. But I also think Mike was just going along his tribal lines, hoping it would happen. But I think Mike's going to be able to talk his way with all of them. Mike's got the idol, like you said earlier. Mike could play that idol and turn this whole game on its head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he very well might.
Yeah. Giovanni says, who's the more rigid player, Chrissy or Lauren? I think Lauren's the more rigid player. But because I don't think Lauren's willing to make as many chances or as many risks as Chrissy is willing to make. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I still think that could mean Lauren's actually playing I actually think Lauren's playing a better game than Chrissy right now. Just because Lauren's name has never, when it came up the one time, or whatever, she didn't go home. And she's been playing a really good under the radar game right now. But it's not as under the radar as you might think. Like she's letting people know where she stands, and she's, being a part of these votes every time, and she's making alliances. So I think that her game's a little bit more rigid because she's going to do what Lauren's going to do. I think Chrissy's game is a little more scatterbrained, but we haven't really had to see her struggle yet.
See, I guess I would actually go the other way on that, because Lauren, we saw for the first time Lauren say, I want to do the Yawa 5. And then she made the conscious decision to not vote with that. And then we saw on the flip side, we've heard, or people have said in the exit interviews, that Chrissy wanted Rourke gone, Rourke went home. Chrissy wanted Allie gone, Allie went home. I don't think Chrissy was the one who brought up Jess. I really don't remember who that was. But Chrissy is such a good player in that the person who she wants to go home has been going home for the past 3 tribal councils that she's attended. So it really depends on your definition of rigid. I don't like rigid because it's like negative, but
yeah, but they're not. Neither one is negative. But I will say this: Lauren, I think, plays such a rigid game that she made a 5-person alliance with somebody she really doesn't like and talked somebody she really liked into trying to keep that person, meaning Cole. Like she was trying to talk.
But what I'm saying is she didn't end up voting with him.
She ended up not doing it, but I think it was more. I think she really wanted to. I just don't think she had pull. Whereas Chrissy has more pull in her alliance.
Yeah, I mean, she wanted to, but I think she was what would be the fluid enough to know. I'm trying to think of the opposite of rigid. Fluid enough to know that, okay, I can't make a big stink about this.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, how many times longer do you think you guys would have lasted in the challenge and Ryan, and would you put it on your Survivor resume? Yes, I would put any Survivor anything on my resume. I don't know. I actually think the hardest part of that challenge is actually moving from peg to peg.
While you're still spinning.
Yeah, I think I could have kept the spinning going. It's the taking one foot and having to balance on one foot for even a second. That I think that would have been the hardest part of the challenge.
Shimmy and you're leaning. I feel like that would be really tough.
Yeah, that's where I would have struggled.
Yeah. Larry Miller, seeing Tony in control is fun, but what's even more fun is seeing Tony scrambling to save himself. Yeah, honestly, Joe playing the idol and not having it is going to make this season more fun, I think, because now he's going to be desperate, and when Joe's desperate, I think that's good things for our TV.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah. Tyler Bellmeyer, that Outback looked amazing to me, and I have eaten in the past 17 days. Looked a heck of a lot better than that pizza last week, that's for sure. Yeah, that looked freaking delicious.
Yeah, I know, right? I think I had leftover chicken tonight. It wasn't nearly as good, although Will did text me and say, hey, man, you want to go to Outback before the episode tonight? And then
I saw he Snapchatted at Outback.
Yeah, I had to say no because, like, I have to come home and, like, my parents are coming into town. And I was like, I can't. I won't have enough time. And then he's freaking snapping all these him eating Outback and everything while they're eating Outback. And I'm sitting here eating leftover chicken that wasn't microwaved enough to make it, like, quite hot. Really rough night. Really was.
Really, really tough night.
Really. Tyler or Nicholas Boer, my man, you're back.
Your boy.
My boy, not back to insult me. I'm glad you're back. I really am. They highlighted this ominous scene of Cole tonight, inches from finding the idol. Fast forward, a fight for an idol next episode. Off that topic, I do think that Jessica and even Allie were given the shaft this season. That pre/merge boot, they had a lot of potential. The thing is, like, they got a really great edit. And I wanted so much more from both of them. Like, you think about it, and you have Desi, who I don't have a problem with, and you have JP, who I don't have a problem with, but I'd rather it was Allie, and I'd rather it was Jessica. Like, I really would. And that's kind of a shame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, that was our first 280 character tweet that we got. So anyone who noticed, Twitter today allowed you to tweet with 280 characters. So that is extremely exciting. Dylan, I think they should bring back Figgy and Jessica for another season to see them play their own games without Taylor Cole there. I mean, that's a good, like, off-season podcast topic. Like, I know we talked about our Thanksgiving aunts and uncles, but, like, showmances, like, break up showmances and put them on other tribes. I think that could be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a shame with those two, but at the same time, like, they both made their own beds. So it is what it is. I feel worse for Allie. I'd rather see Allie play. Nicholas Boer, I do think this season they have a slow building confessional time for Ashley and Devin too, though. Starting to build them up. People with heavy confessionals leaving. The underdog card. Ashley and Devin are barely getting by pre-merge. It's interesting. Yeah, I still don't know where to place them. There's such weird edits to me. Like, I'm just not used to seeing that. But I enjoy it. I like both of them. I just don't know where to put them.
Yeah, I'm really liking them. And then last one is Brian with a very simple, why isn't Jess on the jury? I don't know. I really don't. Like, I would like to know, like, kind of, I know there's, like, kind of an idea of how they build out the jury, but yeah, unfortunately she's not. I mean, Corinne wasn't on the jury and Kara Moen, and she was in the merge boot. I mean, this has happened before.
I mean, maybe we'll find out that, like, they'll all have to sit down on like the floor again instead of getting to sit up on the stage, and we won't get to see Allie or Jessica up on the stage, and it'll be depressing. And
Yeah.
um,
That would be very sad.
but anybody who's wondering, like, I know we'll get the stupid question of like, or not the stupid question, but we're definitely going to get the question. Who, like, out of the people gone, like pre-merge, could come back for another chance? Allie and Jessica are top of my list. I really like both of them. I think they both had a lot of potential, and I think they both are really going. They will bring it every time. Like, you're not going to get like an invisible season from either of them because they're both such loud personalities. And I really would love to see both of them play again. Those are the types of like girls and that you want to see back on future seasons when, like, you know, they're thrown in a Monica Padilla and stuff like that. You want to see this Jessica, this Allie, and see what they can really do. Because I think that both of them could go on to win, or at least Kelly went with their way pretty deep and learn a lot from what they did the first time.
That's what I was going to say. I think they both like will really learn from how their first experiences went. I think that would bode very well for them.
Yeah.
All right, it's 1:05 a.m. and I definitely need to go to bed. So are you cool with me wrapping this up?
Yeah, I'm not going to do a 5 tonight because my parents are here and I haven't seen them in 11 months. So I'm not going to do a 5. Not going to write that. So anybody who's really looking forward to that, you're probably going to have to wait till next week. Just know that all 5 points would have been about how heartbroken I am that Jessica went home.
Just like how Allie went home
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't do a hot takes either. So Phil and I slacked tonight, but it's totally fine. Because I was at the event, Phil's with the parents. We unfortunately do have lives other than this. So with that, vote for MVP, LVP on the YouTube, on this YouTube video. We're going to tally them up and we'll read them out this weekend when we go live on Sunday. In the meantime, on Saturday, I'll post the updated boot list and the updated prop bet scores. Oh, we didn't really list that out tonight, so I'll have to rewatch the episode and see.
Yeah, I know that Ben got the episode title, and then it was
Jessica got no words when she voted out.
Yeah, she just kind of smirked and just like
she's kind of smirked and noped.
Desi won immunity.
Yeah, so we'll post about that. But in the meantime, tweet at us, follow us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes, tell your friends. And yeah, if there are any other Survivor events in the greater New York or LA areas, let us know and we'll pop by. It was really cool to meet some fans in person, and hopefully we get more chances to do that.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you probably on Sunday.